Good evening, Living Waters. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday Bible study. We're going to continue with our series on the stories, their story, your story, and his story. Review from where we were last week. We found out that discipleship is everybody's responsibility, that no one is exempt. Then that prayer is where we begin discipleship, because prayer changes us and it will change others, and the effectual fervent prayer of the righteous avails much. Then we discovered we have to connect through caring, through deeds of kindness to others, and attitude that we have when we are around them. So today we're going to continue with our discussion about the three stories: their story, your story, and his story. We listen to their story, we share our story, and we tell his story. So today we're going to talk about their story. Their story opens the door to their being willing to hear your story and ultimately his story. The job of the disciple maker is to listen, underline that, listen to their story. Listening is not easy because it requires us to move away from being the center of attention and to invite someone else into our space, as we talked about last week. When we listen with real concentration and express sincere concern for their struggles and their pains, something powerful happens. Tensions dissolve, anxiety lessens, and fears diminish. Listening is simple to do. In fact, it's a gift with tremendous healing power when we listen. It's simple, but it's short in supply. Why? Because few of us are willing to stop and take time to listen. The author of the book that I am studying from says, I did a Google search to see how widespread the lack of listening is in general. And the results he got, 74 million hits on the topic. Unbelievable. So listening is a problem generally. It's also a problem when we're witnessing or making disciples. Here are the few of the hits that he found. Nobody will take time to listen to me. No one listens to me. Why do they not listen to me? And this one was most concerning. My depression is worsening and no one will listen to me. The list to go on, but you get the idea. I want to postulate today that good communication starts with alert or active listening. We'll discuss that later. If we're going to be effective witnesses and disciple makers, then we must first know the person that we are dealing with. And in order to know them, we have to hear their story. We have to hear about their life experiences so that way they will let us into their lives and we can understand where they are coming from. And finally, we find out where they are both psychologically and geographically. Find out where they live, what their history is, how they are feeling, what their emotional state is. The Bible has quite a bit to say about listening. We'll just look at a few of those scriptures today. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and verse 2 says, "Do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter anything hastily before God. For God is in heaven and you on earth. Therefore let your words be fewer." few. Don't jump into a conversation. Listen to what they are saying. James, a familiar one, James chapter 1, verse 19. So then, my beloved brethren, let everyone be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. The first thing we are to do is to hear, and then, whenever it's appropriate, to speak, and don't let their words upset us. And also Mark chapter 4 and verse 9. And he said to them, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. This is indicating that just because we have auditory reception doesn't mean that we are listening to what they are saying. And finally, Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 13. He who answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame on him. Other words, listen, wait, don't jump into the conversation because it's foolish to do so and you will turn the person off. In fact, the word listen is found in the Bible more than 114 times. So what is active or alert listening? Number one, it's a conscious choice. You have to decide you're going to listen. Have you ever had a conversation with people and then walk away and not have the foggiest idea what they said? We have to choose to listen. We have to stop. We have to slow down. We have to focus on that individual, and we have to start hearing what they are saying. Number two, requires us to give another person our undivided attention. Don't be thinking about something else, and don't be trying to come up with a response to what they're saying, but give them your undivided attention. Learn to hear people. Don't let what they say turn you off, or how they look, or their attitude. Don't let that turn you off. Learn. You notice that word learn. It's not something that you automatically do. You have to make yourself do it. And number four, don't start forming your response while they're talking, because when you do, you tune them out. We speak 125 words, but we can hear 425 words a minute. Isn't that amazing? And most of us don't want to take the time to slow down and be focused on what they're saying. See, everyone has a story, and most want someone to hear it. And the question is, will you as a Christian or a discipleship maker or a witness of Christ take the time to listen? In order to listen, we must hear. Do not try to up someone's story. In other words, they're telling you something and you're going to come back and tell them your story. No, that comes later. That's in the second part of our your story business, of these three stories. Let them talk. Don't interrupt them. And when they're talking, focus on 3 or 4 things they're saying so that you'll be able to say it back later in your conversation. See, that tells them that you've been listening. There is a term called Maslow's process of listening, and we'll be talking some about those issues. Work to understand their thoughts and their feelings. Remember that the body language speaks a whole lot more than the words say. So look at their eyes. Watch the facial expressions. Look where their hands are. How are their shoulders? What is going on? Listen and watch. And then reflect back to them what you heard to see if that is what they were saying. Sometimes we don't really understand what they are saying, and if we can respond this is what I heard. Is this what you were saying? That's part of the Maslow process. And when we do that, it takes time to do that, and it may take 2 or 3 times of reflecting back to one another before you really come to an understanding of what that person is saying. But if we're going to hear them, we have to understand them, and they have to understand us. Alert, active listening earns you the right to be heard when it comes time for you to tell your story. This is how Jesus operated. He would ask a question and then listen without interruptions. So easy to interrupt. But Jesus just listened. There are some tips I want to share about listening today. Number 1, you have to show genuine concern. You can't be fiddling with something in your hand. You can't be looking at your watch. You can't be slouching, and that shows disinterest. But you have to be showing genuine interest. Don't be authentic with it. Don't have some kind of pre-planned program that you're going to go through, because that will be detected by the individual. Show genuine concern. Secondly, be courteous. Look at them. If you're going to listen, you have to look at somebody. Don't mean you stare at them, but you have to look. Focus on the words you're hearing. Show them attention. And then you need to communicate acceptance. Disagree without being disagreeable. And what they say, don't let it affect you emotionally. You know, Christians live the sheltered life if you've been one very long. And sometimes people can use very coarse and even vulgar words in their conversation. But you can't allow that to turn you away from hearing what they are saying. Because most of the people that use that kind of language that are not believers do so because that's their vocabulary. Just like if someone spoke Spanish, they would speak to you in Spanish. You may not understand it. But these people, that is just the language that they speak, and don't be turned off by it. Don't let it take away your attention from them. And then if you're going to disagree, don't come with a sledgehammer. Like my mother-in-law used to say, don't use 20-penny nails whenever you try to respond to someone. But be kind, be courteous to those that you are talking with. Communicate acceptance. Doesn't mean you have to agree with what they're saying. Doesn't mean that you agree with what they're doing. But we have to accept. If we love people, there's going to come an acceptance in them, accepting them where they are, and just living with where they are, listening to where they are. And then when the time comes, you'll be able to share with them because you have earned the right to do so. And then be patient. Be very patient. It's so easy in our hurry-scurry world to not be patient with people. We want them to hurry up and get it said, get it done. I don't have time for this. That is not listening. That is being self-centered. And we started out with our discussion today that if you're going to listen, you have to let them into your space, and you've got to give them your time and your attention. So be patient. Don't be looking around. Don't be looking at the ceiling. Don't show any kind of impatience. But focus your attention. Try to close your senses to the outside world. It's so easy for us to allow some noise to distract us, or some traffic going by, or some situation that may be in the realm of our peripheral vision. Or you may have ADHD, and it's easy for you to be distracted. But focus your attention. And one good way to do that is to sit down at a table with people and sit across from them and focus your attention on them. And that way you have a less opportunity for the extraneous things that are around you to divert your attention away from hearing what they have to say. This is a big one. Let the other person who is talking be the star. I want you to get that one. What they're saying is important to them. It may not be important to you. That's not the point. That's not what listening is all about. It's so that you can hear what somebody else is saying, that you may be able to minister into your life. See, as you listen to what they are saying, you will be able to discern what they value. You will be able to discern what is important to them. You will be able to discern what is distressing them. And we could go on about that. So let the other person be the star. We're not there to star. We're not there to impress them. We are there to hear them and to hear what they are saying and to respond to what they are saying. And then be well understood. How do we do that? Try to reflect back what you thought they said. And then let them clarify if what you heard is not what they meant. That takes time. You're talking past each other otherwise. So you need to reflect on what the other person says back to them. Then that way you can both come to a complete understanding of what the other person said and in agreement with what they said. Not that you sanction what they say, but you know what they say. You have comprehended what they have trying to tell you. See, listening, as we have found going through, takes self-denial. You have to just quit thinking about your time. You have to quit thinking about what you want to say. You have to quit thinking about how it's impacting you. You have to not let your emotions get carried away with you. And you have to focus. In our world today, focus is a difficult thing because everyone's running here and there. But we have to focus on them. And then we have to, as I said, reflect back to them, not being emotionally upset by what they say or the words they use. See, the goal makes people feel, what the goal is to make people feel good about you because you listened. The best thing that can be said about a believer is that they know how to listen and actually hear what the other person is saying. Because it will open up the door for you to tell them what Jesus has done for you. And it will open up the door for them to hear what you have to say so that you may help them on their journey of loving Christ and becoming a disciple of Christ. But it takes time, it takes effort, it takes self-denial, it takes focus, it takes not being emotionally upset with people. And finally today, I want to leave you with an acrostic about listening. Things that will help us. S, smile. It helps people relax. If you're stern-faced, they'll think, wow, they're not wanting to hear what I have to say, or they're not agreeing with what I'm saying. But if you smile, and you let your eyes smile, and you let your face smile, and you let your voice smile, it'll help both of you relax. And you will hear, and they will hear, and you will have a listening proposition. Then have an open expression. Watch your body language. Be approachable. Don't shut people off. Don't close them out. Have that open expression. This is a good one. F, lean forward. See, when you lean forward in a conversation, it means you're listening. Unless you're like me and you're hard of hearing, so you lean in so that you might hear better. But what it says to the person, they're interested. They're really hearing what I'm saying. And if you feel comfortable, touch them with a handshake or on the shoulder or on the hand. It says, I'm with you. I care about you. I am going to be here for you. And then eye contact. Don't stare at them. You know what a good thing I have found? Is what the doctor tells me when I go to the optometrist. He says, look at my ear. That means that you're not looking them directly in the eye, but you are looking in their direction. But you're not staring at them. Let them know that you are with them. And then lastly today, a good thing to do when you're talking with people or allowing them to talk to you better is to nod. Say, yes. Don't interrupt, just give an affirmation. The nod gives an affirmation. The yes, the hum gives an affirmation. So, hear their story. If you're going to be a witness, you're going to be a disciple maker, you have to get into their lives and they have to let you into their lives. And the best avenue that you have in getting into their lives is listening. Actively listening to what they say. May you have a good week and may the Lord be with you. Tune up your ears, focus in on the people, hear what they are saying, reflect back to them what they said that you understand together, and then be involved in their lives as they allow you, so the day will come that you can tell your story and ultimately you can tell his story and help them to go to heaven and be a born again Christian.